Hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Digital Community Voices Workshop with the Arts Engagement Department with the Old Globe in San Diego, California. I hope you all at home had a wonderful holiday weekend and you're keeping healthy and motivated during this challenging time. Thank you for taking the time to join us today for our online workshop. If this is your first time joining us today, please feel free to stick around. This is our fifth workshop, and we'll be digging into exploring conflict through dialogue as participants begin to dig even deeper into their original scripts. Today will be enjoyable for first-time watchers, but if you'd like to find workshops 1 through 4, they're all available on our page down a little further or on the Community Voices event page that you can RSVP to. All of those workshops can be found there. We post them as soon as they are done rolling. Today, like I mentioned, we will be digging into using dialogue to explore conflict in our short plays. And this is something that any new or returning or ongoing playwright can gain from. As always, I have the wonderful Gil Sotu and Mickey Vale with me, and I am so grateful to both of these wonderful humans as we continue on our great digital experiment. Hello, you two. As a check-in for you both, and for anyone at home that might like to share in the comments section, could you each share a moment from your week where you felt that you faced some conflict, and then how did you deal with that conflict during your week? Let's start with the always fabulous Mickey Vale. Mickey, did you have some conflict this week you overcame? What did it look like?
I have had conflict for the past few weeks. It's been really my only conflict, and it's my grandmother. She needs. I feel she needs help. She doesn't feel like she needs help. She adamantly does not feel like she needs help. So there's contention every time I mention it. But I talked to my uncle who lives close to her, and I expressed how adamantly I feel like she needs someone with her. So he's been checking in with her every day and really stepping up to look after her. So I feel better.
Good. That's very resourceful of you. And thank you for sharing that. This is going to feel like a very sensitive subject today, but I promise you it's very relevant to what we're digging into with our writing. And even though it's difficult to kind of face our conflict in our lives, it's also valuable to take a moment with it and see how we deal with it. This is going to be a great inspiration for your pieces. Gil, did you have a moment of conflict this week that you overcame? What did it look like for you?
Yeah. So my wife's dad is really not doing well at all. And she had to travel up northern Cali to go just be with him because it may be, not that much longer. And so what the challenge was staying at home at the kids and having her go, and it's not a good time to travel, and just how that would affect us economically because I'm a starving artist that's taking care of his family. So the way that I overcame it is the few people that we let into this, they asked, is there anything I could do to help? And usually I just say no. But this time, like, I told the truth, like what we needed and everything. And people came through in a big way financially, brought mass over. A couple of friends brought food over because they know I don't cook. And so we got lunch every day for me and the kids. And, yeah, it's delivered right to our door. It's just been a blessing, the community that we have around us, and just to stay calm and then just trust and be honest.
Thank you for sharing that with us today. Thank you both for going so deep with this moment. I appreciate your ability to flip something so difficult and take stock for what you do have in these moments. And it says a lot about you and how you want to deal with conflict and maybe represent dealing with conflict in your writing. Yeah, and I also want to say to the audience, it's okay to get deep. In playwriting, we would in these actual workshops that we would host, we always hold space for connecting to real life situations, and that also includes this moment as I've said in the past, is unprecedented, and it is ripe with drama that we can explore. And if it's fruitful for you, and if it's something that you can't stop obsessing over, using this workshop as an opportunity to dig into those elements through playwriting can be a very therapeutic experience. And I encourage other people to go through their plays with these situations we are currently, facing. Now I'd like to introduce two actors that we have for today. We've had plenty of wonderful acting guests with us. So we have two brand new people with us today. We have Ariel Seiler and Samantha Genn. These two will be lending their voices to reading some scripts today and helping out with moving through our lesson. And I also want to check in with both of them and see if they have a moment of conflict from their week and how they overcame that conflict. And I'm going to start with Ariel. Hi, Ariel.
Hey, yeah, conflict. So I've actually had to, because of all of everything that's going on with coronavirus, I've had to move home with my mom and my brother. And there's nowhere else I'd rather be right now than to be with family. The only thing is that it's like it's not quite the same as having roommates. There aren't like the same level of like boundaries that happen, right? So there definitely has been moments where I've had to like exercise some communication skills, first just sort of assuming the best of my family members, if they don't do the dishes, and just sort of expressing how that affects me. So instead saying like, when you don't say do the dishes, it affects me in this way, next time, please. So there's nowhere else I'd rather be right now, but it does still come with its share of conflict. So, but overall, great.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And absolutely, yes, I got a fabulous email inquiring because I've been encouraging people at home to explore this moment potentially through theater. And I got a question of, well, aren't we all going to be kind of dealing with the same subject, being stuck at home, trying to teach our kids, trying to deal with isolation, trying to go get groceries, things like that. And my response to that is, yeah, sure, there are a lot of commonalities to what is happening to us, but every experience that has been shared with me through this quarantine is so individualized. And like we had 3 stories just now, all related to this quarantine and or the situation, and all of them dealt with it differently and had different characters potentially to interact with, and had potentially a different outcome to trying to approach this conflict and fix it. So I feel like this moment is actually full of potential. So don't be afraid to dive in if you're inspired to. And last, I want to invite Samantha again to share. Samantha, why don't you come up and share a conflict with us?
Sure, I'd love to. Yeah, it's definitely been some growing pains the last couple of weeks, the last fortnight. But yeah, I'm a teaching artist during the day and then a theater maker at night. So yeah, I'm fun employed right now. So that's been a challenge in itself. And also, I'm also moving back home with the parents. So thank you, roomies, once again for having me. And then to top it off, I got a case of head lice. So that was fun. So this was how I solved the problem. Thank you, CVS lice removal kit. That was a beautiful time. And then, also walks have been helping me, yoga, meditation, therapy, and liquid grapes.
Thank you very much, Sam, for sharing and not being afraid to share deeply. All of you decided to share very deeply with me today, and I appreciate it. This was a very personal check-in, and you all went deep with me, but it's very relevant for today's workshop. And I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing that. And it's important for us to all think about the ways that others and ourselves handle the conflict in our lives. And this is going to be your best source of inspiration as you honestly explore conflict through dialogue in your script. Now, as I always do in these workshops, I'm going to just take a moment to do a little physical check-in and to get our minds ready for some creative work. Today's is going to be pretty brief. We have a lot to get through today, but I want to encourage all of you to take the time to stretch and check in with yourself. Again, a lot of you have mentioned that this moment is very helpful to you. I'm grateful. I hope you extend this moment and go deeper with your stretches. They're free and they're for you, and they can help, especially if you take the moment to deeply exhale. And we're going to do a gentle face massage today, which is a personal favorite since I carry so much tension in my jaw. So let's begin by sitting up straight and rolling our shoulders back and down. And from this position of straight up posture, let's take a deep breath. Go ahead and hold it at the top and then a long release of an exhale. Let's do that together. Inhale. Hold at the top and exhale. Let's do that again. Long breath in. Hold at the top and a nice steady exhale. Go ahead and try to keep that sustained breath throughout this little moment. Now let's just take a moment to heat up our hands. Go ahead and rub them together. Nice and strong. Create good friction until it feels like your hands are nice and warm. And then just go ahead and place them right on the middle of your face and feel this exchange of energy with that heat. And go ahead and move your hands right to this fleshy little place that holds your jaw together. And go ahead and rub right there. This is where I hold all of my tension. You can also use the thumbs to come underneath your jaw. Give yourself a nice little jaw massage. Let's go ahead and take a deep inhale now. And as you release, make the sound ah. I'm going to do it with you. Now inhale. Good. Go ahead and bring your hands down to the back of your neck. Go ahead and give yourself a nice little massage here. And we're going to take one more deep breath in, and we're going to exhale on a So deep inhale and Good. You should feel a nice little tingle in your face. I felt that at the back of my neck. And that's it for today. A little loving touch and a small check-in is sometimes all you need to reset your brain for creativity. But if you enjoyed that, go for it. Give yourself a longer jaw massage. Go ahead and stretch your neck. Bring back one of our back then chair exercises and do it throughout our time together. If you can walk out of this workshop feeling a little bit better than you came in, that's a wonderful thing. In lieu of a writing warm-up today, I'm just offering you all that previous check-in as your own free writing prompt. After this workshop or in our comments, just take a moment and think about your own conflicts during the week and think about how you handle them. Do you handle them? Do you face them head on, or do you let things work themselves out? What is the weight of that conflict? Is it dire, or do you have time to handle it? And if so, how does this adjust the way that you face it? Journal about it. Looking at how you or your friends and family have dealt with conflict in life will definitely continue to be a helpful brainstorm for this week's writing work, which is to get you to a place where you've written 3 to 4 pages of your scripts. And at this point, you will be at least introducing the conflict or major obstacles. Yay! So I have some things to share from last week that we didn't have time for. 2 10-line scenes that were submitted to me, and I got permission to use them as in our discussion. But fortunately, both of these pieces are they open up on the beginnings of some really fabulous potential explored obstacles, and we're going to share and discuss these pieces inspired by this week's handout. So if you can find the handout, please go ahead and open it up to kind of follow along and check in on for the rest of today's workshop. That would be perfect. It's pretty simple. It is called the Conflict Questionnaire, and it is intended for you all to fill out before you jump into developing more pages of dialogue in your script this week. So just go ahead and open up that questionnaire if you can. It should be located in the comments. It was posted a little bit earlier on our page right underneath this video. But if you can't find it for whatever reason, that's okay. Gil, Mickey, and I are going to discuss these questions using these short pieces as some inspiration. So Sam and Ariel, if you could go ahead and come on back up. We're going to read one of those fabulous leftover pieces from last week, and I'm going to help you out on the stage directions. Are you 2 ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So these are some fabulous, really in-depth stage directions and character descriptions, which was a little advanced for this specific assignment, but it's fabulous for today. So I'm going to go ahead and read through those right now. So first we have Predictability, who Ariel is going to be reading. This is a young adult. They wear clean white clothes. They keep their hair short and tidy. Their nails are short and utilitarian. They are often preoccupied. They are friendly and kind-hearted and sensitive, so they might not come across as such upon first meeting them. They care a lot, perhaps too much. They feel the weight of the world upon them, even though much is out of their control. They are a defender of life and many incredible life forms and have co-evolved on this planet. Defender of their heartbeats, their regularity despite the chaos of the universe, fighting against Entropy, who is another character they love deeply and faithfully. Breaking that trust is hard to recover from. And then we have Entropy, who is going to be played by Sam. Entropy is an adult, though it's hard to tell their age. They wear filthy white shoes and an eclectic assortment of things from their closet. Their outfit is often fraught with broken zippers, melting makeup, and coffee stains. They bite their nails. They are often engrossed and engaged with the task at hand. Bless you. They have a great sense of humor, and they like to tease predictability. They love the randomness of the universe. It gives them life. Tossing together an outfit and seeing what the world will bring. Live and let live. Very few things faze them. They have a knack for seeing the big picture. They love openly and unconditionally. So I just wanted to say real quick, that was like above and beyond any character description I have received at this moment. And it's great. And the thing I enjoy the most about it is that it is so specific without asking for any restrictions on casting. Anybody, within reason, can play these parts, and that's fabulous. Let's dig into the dialogue. So we even got a little setting and at-rise from this. So we have enter Entropy, pieces falling off their costume. They are tossing things, spilling water, throwing jello or mini paper helicopters, whatever the actor playing Entropy chooses to bring on stage to cause unpredictable chaos in the scene. And then Predictability, measured, controlled, patient, but begrudging. This isn't the first time they've seen this behavior.
E, you are making a mess.
She methodically bends down to pick up the pieces, cleaning up after Entropy.
You act so surprised.
I guess you are consistently messy.
They continue to clean up.
Am I? I feel like that would defeat the point.
You have a point.
Ha ha! Got you! No.
Predictability is upset. They're proud and they don't like to be laughed at. They take this moment of upset to channel their need for control into cleaning.
You like to think that there is a point. It helps you sleep at night. I don't need to sleep.
That would be too predictable, right?
No.
Are we really just going to fight forever?
You make up the rules. I don't.
I don't make up the rules. If I did, I would make so that I didn't have to clean up after you.
I'd be just fine without you cleaning up after me. I didn't ask you to do that.
I'm stuck here cleaning up after you because if I didn't clean, you would have nothing to mess up.
I exist everywhere. You are the one that wouldn't exist without me. Your sense of order is an illusion. It's in your head.
Entropy starts to undo predictability's work.
Why is this? Any different than what you just did? Why is one better than the other?
Because I have a purpose, even if you don't have one.
You really don't think I have a purpose?
Entropy goes over to the mess.
Watch this.
Entropy speeds up the powers of death and decay, causing the mess to rot. It becomes swarmed with insects, birds, and other animals, each leaving their signature mark of chaos by time. By the time entropy is done, seedlings have emerged from the pile and are making their cautious journey towards the sun. Entropy is pointing at the pile.
What were you planning on doing with all this once you cleaned it up?
Predictability stands speechless, realizing that by constantly fighting against entropy's messes, they did not realize they were both defenders of life after all. And that's the end. Thank you both for reading. We'll bring you back up in just a little bit. I'm going to invite Gil and Mickey back so we can chat about this. We're going to chat about this using the Conflict Questionnaire. And fortunately, like I mentioned, both of the pieces we are sharing today really went above and beyond this 10 lines of dialogue worksheet and started to materialize some actionable ideas in their writing. And thank you so much to everyone who submitted and continues to submit their work for me. We're going to, like I mentioned, go through it with a questionnaire handout to see if we can make some guesses on this conflict of this piece and where it might be going. And to you who submitted the piece, you may have already moved on from this idea, but we're digging in anyway, just to see, how easy it could be to potentially expand upon this. So Mickey, let's start with you today again. Let's go through this first question on the questionnaire worksheet, which I'm just going to read out loud to all of you today. So if you don't have it open, you're good. You can just follow along. So this first question is, what does your main character really want? If it's a physical object, like a new car or lots of money, why don't you dig a little deeper into why your character wants this thing? What does this physical object give them? If it's not a physical thing, dig into how this element is absent from the character's life from the beginning. So, Mickey, who would you think from this 10-line of dialogue exercise was the main character? And then what might they want?
I think the main character is predictability, simply because we quickly see them go through a transformation. And I think predictability wants order in their life.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. In fact, it's so straightforward, it makes that question very easy to answer. Sometimes when you get a short piece and there's two characters, it can be a little challenging to decide who the main character is. In fact, you at home might have decided that Entropy is actually the main character of this piece. But the thing that will happen is that people are going to connect to whichever character ends up changing the most in your piece. So even if you had imagined one character as the main, just know that sometimes the audience will interpret it differently. And we're interpreting this as predictability as the main character simply because they have the most change throughout this time. And I would agree. They want things to be pretty straightforward and a lot more easier than this current moment. But Gil, let's look at that second question. The second question on the questionnaire is, why isn't it easy for your character to get to this thing? What might be standing in their way of getting this thing? So what is standing in Predictability's way of getting some order in their life, Gil?
It's entropy. Entropy keeps causing chaos and messing things up for him or her. But you know what, Katie? I just had a thought. Can I share my thought?
What's that, Gil?
I don't know who this writer is or what they were intending, but just thinking about everything that's going on, it seems like this could also be a metaphor for what's going on with Corona, meaning that we want things predictable and then chaos comes. But what the author is trying to say is that there is that even though chaos comes, then it's going to come back to predictability. Predictability is going to, get things kind of back into a order. You see what I'm saying?
A lot of sense that something like this that is actually a metaphor for what's currently for us. And to what you said at the beginning, I agree that entropy is basically standing in the way of predictability, but it does question whether or not what predictability wants is actually the right thing for this moment as well. So this last question is really for you, the playwright. So we're going to be guessing in this, but if both of you had to guess, inspired by this writing, what do you think this character will do despite of or in light of these challenges with the entropy? Vicky, let's go back to you. What do you think? What could they do ongoingly to deal with this situation?
Maybe to add a little conflict, they could predictability, even though they see that they both have this different approach of creating a way of life. Maybe they could, just for conflict, still try to get entropy to do things their way to come to the same results, their very predictable way.
Mm. I like that you're leaning into these names that are really the embodiment of these characteristics.
Yeah.
And if a character is called Predictability, what would it take for a character whose name is this characteristic to actually change from that? And would they? It seems like in this piece they might be changing towards the end, or at least making a realization. But if they do change, do they have to change their name? These are your rules. You get to decide where you like. Gil, what do you think? What might be an outcome of dealing with this conflict for Predictability?
Maybe that Predictability accepts that entropy is in its life and says, kind of like we can track a storm. He says to him, just be as chaotic as you want. Just let me know where you're going to be chaotic so I can have some kind of semblance of predictability within it. It's kind of like the relationship with me and my wife, Gil, be predictable, but I just need to know when you're going to be unpredictable, and then I can deal with it.
Look, Gil, I don't need you exploring this stuff live on our digital platform at 3:30 in the middle of my workshop. I know your wife, and I love her. I'm Switzerland. Yeah, I love that idea of finding a way for these two characters to stay the same, but work with each other. That's a really, optimistic way to approach this world. But if that's not what you were thinking at home, that's okay. We're just inspired by you, and you can go whatever route you'd like to and dig into your own version of this conflict and the outcome of it. Or if you're done with this piece, it pretty much stood alone very well. And thank you so much for letting us read through it and discuss it today. we're actually going to jump into one more 10-line script that is also really kind of starting to dig into the conflict of these worlds a little bit more. So Sam and Ariel, can you come back to read through that next scene for us? And I'm going to once again help you out with some stage directions. And I think I'm so surprised that I think they had a costume change, which just blows my mind. You gotta love actors and their resourcefulness. Okay, so the characters of this 10-line scene are Craig, who is his dad.
Ooh, having trouble.
Can you hear me?
I think you have to pull back a little bit.
Oh,
yeah,
thank
perfect.
you.
Yeah.
So we have lots of people helping me with this new digital world, and thank you all at home again for always supporting me as well. And this little break is giving me a moment to say the rest of these readings, Sam and Ariel, might be a little outside of their type. Well, at least for the next two readings. Yeah, so, but that's okay. I'm going to read you the stage directions of these pieces, and these fabulous actresses will rise to the occasion. So once again, the characters of this short piece are Craig, who will be played by Sam. This is Lucy's dad. He's exhausted after working for his construction firm all day. And then we have Lucy, who Ariel will be reading. This is Craig's 6-year-old daughter. She's been waiting for Craig to come home to play tea party with her like he promised.
Hey, honey.
Daddy, you're home. Do you remember what today is?
It's Tuesday, sweetheart, and Daddy had a long day at work today.
Wrong. It's Tea Party Tuesday.
Oh yes, I remember now.
You said yesterday you'd play tea party with me as soon as you got home today.
Yes, I did say that, but
No, you said so, Daddy.
I know, honey, but I need to make you dinner, and there's a deadline for tomorrow I absolutely cannot miss. Don't you want to watch Frozen 2 again?
Mommy says you always let the TV babysit me when I'm here.
And that's it. This one's a little shorter, and it also plays with elements of realism, where the previous one was more of a surrealistic metaphor. But that was fabulous. Thank you again at home for submitting it, and thank my actors for lending their voices. They'll be back in a little bit. Gil and Mickey, let's chat about that short scene with, once again, the handout for today. Let's start with Gil this time. Gil, who do you think that main character is, and what do you think they want?
The main character of this one is the father, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
And what he wants, really just I understand this perfectly, just some peace and quiet. Once he gets home, he just wants to relax.
Yeah.
From work, tired.
Yeah, I think that digging into that, there's, a wealth of things. We don't quite know what Craig's situation is yet at work. There might be an element of Craig wanting security and stability because his life is very chaotic at work, but we don't know just yet. And I would agree with Gil that Craig is the main character, but this piece could very easily dig into Lucy's world if the author wanted to. But at this moment, we're set up very quickly with the obstacles that Craig are facing. So we're kind of leaning towards him as the main character. So Mickey, why isn't it easy for Craig to get this piece at home?
Because Lucy wants to play.
Lucy wants to play. It's that simple. As a father, you can, I'm not a father, but you can want two things. You can want to be there for your kid and also want to rest. Maybe sometimes you want one thing a lot more than another. But so for both of you, this piece is still very early on, but if you had to guess, what might happen? How can Craig deal with this conflict? How will he overcome it? Why don't we start with you, Gil? our resident papa.
Resident Papa. I think to get what they both want, he just has to redirect, come up with a game that kind of allows him to rest a little bit, cheat a little bit, like a hide and go seek where he counts up to 200, or some other kind of game to where she's busy and entertained and he gets to take some rest in between, but still engage with his daughter.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Good answer, Gil. I know your wife's watching. That's the answer.
Yeah.
All right, Mickey, what would you do with this world? How would you like for Craig to resolve this conflict?
I do not have children, but Mickey Mothering 101, I think Craig could get creative and turn it into a Long Island iced tea party and throw a little something extra into his cup and compromise it. They have the tea party and he gets to have his own fun.
Mickey doesn't have kids, but she encourages you all to drink while you watch them. I appreciate that single lady spin on this story, Mickey, and thank you both for having that little discussion with me about this. We're going to actually jump into some extended examples to help encourage your assignment for this week. So like this week assignment it's here. You're going to write some pages. But first, I'm going to ask you to fill out the questionnaire that we're talking about today and then after you fill that out, you're going to develop those 3 to 4 pages of dialogue for your original work. We're being very intentional in this discussion about conflict today because in a 10-minute play, most conflict should be identified within the first 3 to 4 pages. You don't have a lot of time in this play, so you got to kind of get to it. So you should have a really strong handle on what that conflict is and how you're going to dig into it moving forward before you get started, or you might end up writing yourself into a wall. To give you some examples of 3 pages of 10-minute plays, we're going to, once again, share both Gil and Mickey's pieces from a previous Community Voices workshop that they took with me. And we're going to dig into a discussion, again, of the introduction of their pieces, Conflicts. We're going to start with Gil's wonderful piece titled Rich People's Problems. And Sam and Ariel are going to come on back here and lend their voices to the main characters. And I am once again going to read the stage directions. And Sam and Ariel will continue to read some parts that, maybe aren't entirely 100% right for them. But let's dive in. You two ready?
Yep. Sure am.
All right, let's do it. So we have Rich People's Problems by Gil Sotu. The characters are Chloe Van Warren, daughter of investment guru and celebrity Charles Van Warren. She's in her mid-20s. And then we have Miles Profit, an ambitious corporate driver in his early 30s. He comes from nothing. He wants it all. The setting is winter, back road in Camarillo, California, an affluent suburb community 30 minutes north of LA. At Rise, Miles is pacing desperately to get cell reception, but keeps getting cut off. Chloe has her head in her hands. They have just gotten into an accident.
Yes. We're the Pacific Coast Highway. Near Las Postas Road? No, Pacific Coast Highway. PCH. P as in, please tell me you speak English. C as in, hello?
Reception is terrible here. I'll tell you what. My car still works. Let me drive to a better area and I will call a tow truck.
Can't. This isn't my car. I'm just a driver. I need a police accident report so they don't think I drove into this telephone pole on my own. If I don't get that report, that's my ass.
How will they know we are out here? I don't have my cell on me.
I know, and I'm running out of battery myself. I'm hoping they heard enough to send a cop or a call back, a magic carpet, something.
I'm sorry. I just didn't see you. I just looked down for a second. Is it bad?
I'll never get into a fight with another airbag again. They cheat. You know, you were halfway in my lane before you saw me. What were you doing?
I was just messing with the radio, and then I don't know. I was just distracted. I'm really sorry. Okay, look, if I could just pay you for your troubles, I have several $100s on me. I really need to be getting out of here.
A few hundred? I'll lose my job. Don't want to be rude, lady, but you damn near killed me. You ain't gonna make me lose my job and miss my chance?
What chance?
You may not get it, but I'm not going to be a driver forever. I've been driving around rich folks like you for 5 years, saving money, chatting up anyone who is somebody willing to talk to help. I've been studying the business world while waiting outside of meetings, galas, charity events. I'm about to have a meeting with my boss who really knows nothing about business to partner up with him and save the company. And that's just one part of my plan. A plan, Ms. Van Warren, that does not include getting fired and having to pay for damages for something I didn't.
Wait, you know who I am?
Like I said, I study. How can I know business and not know your father? He's the king of investment banking, and you, Chloe, and your sister Courtney are with him at almost every event he attends. Plus, I've driven you before to that Malibu event at the Morris Estate.
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
I'd be surprised if you did.
I'm sorry you recognize me.
You keep saying sorry, but I really don't think you know what that means. What's wrong with recognizing you?
Oh. He gets a call, puts up his hand to pause the conversation.
Yes? Yes, thank God. Great, about 20 minutes? Okay, we'll be waiting. My phone's about to die, so... Hello? Hello?
With Miles's back turned, Chloe picks up a large rock and tries to strike him with it. Miles turns just in time and she freezes.
What the
Chloe runs around the car. Miles gives chase. Chloe tries her best to keep the car between them. She throws the rock but misses. They circle somewhat comically around the car. Then Miles opens Chloe's car door and snatches the keys, holding them up triumphantly in front of her.
Please, please give those back.
For what? You just tried to kill me. Luckily, you throw like a girl. Worse, a rich one.
I can't. Ah! God, I can't be here when the cops get here. I'm sorry, sir. I never caught your name.
Never threw it. What's this about the cops? You got a warrant out or something?
No, nothing like that. Your name?
Miles Prophet.
All right, and that's 3 pages. Oh, I'm out of breath. There's such an exciting, exhilarating 3 pages. Thank you both actors for lending your voices to that. Mickey and Gil, let's come back and discuss this piece. Mickey, I'm going to ask you this question as though Gil isn't here. Who would you say is the main character of this piece, and what do you think they want?
I think Miles is the main character, and ultimately he wants to do well in business. In this moment, he wants to get her information. He wants to get Chloe's information.
Yeah, and you did a really cool thing for me just then, and you gave the bigger want, and then you kind of, isolated the small thing that he's trying to get right now. Basically, there's usually this sort of surface level want, this thing that we actively kind of go after, but that surface level want should always be the cover for something much deeper. So yes, in this moment, Miles wants to deal with this situation with the law in the right way because he wants to move forward in his career. And this situation could potentially hurt him if he doesn't deal with it correctly. Gil, is that right? Did we get it right, Gil? Would you expand on anything?
No, yeah, you did get it right. Right now he just wants to keep her there so that he can get an official report because he ran into a telephone pole, and if she takes off, there's no evidence that she was even there. So he really needs her to stay, and she's trying to get out of there. But that all talks about his bigger thing of just trying to be successful. He's always looking towards the future.
Cool. We like talking about you like you're not here, Gil.
Right,
so
I know.
I'm gonna ask.
If I was lighter, you'd see my cheeks blush.
Ricky, let's go to that next question in the questionnaire. Why can't Miles just have what he wants? What's his obstacle?
Chloe isn't, she's trying to get away. She tried to kill him with a rock, and
or at least bludgeon him.
yeah, and she doesn't want to give her information.
Yeah, he's got a real big conflict here in this lady. This is something that should be accessible to him at this point. But this woman and all of her nonsense at this time is physically taking Miles from his wants, is coming between him and the potential of his growth in his career. So, and Gil did a really fabulous job in digging into this conflict very aggressively, very fast. I mean, first, if there's a car crash, that's a piece of conflict. And then he raised the stakes again and again by creating this character who needs to flee this scene as quickly as possible. And certainly created a lot of like interesting and compelling interaction. I bet you're all right in the palm of his hands to hear the rest of this piece. So Gil, this last question is actually for you to answer, but I don't want you to give away too much of the plot, as we may revisit this work later in the workshop. But when you first started this piece, what kind of outcome did you think was important to show through your work?
Right. First of all, let me just start off by saying that this was my first piece for the Community Voices. So I'm like, as you guys are reading this, I'm like, there's so many things that I want to change and shorten and cut. But I think looking at this brings me back because I'm thinking about my other plays, and I think the vast majority of them are all about perspective and having a character see things one way, and then how can that change by the end of the story. So that's what I was sought out to pursue during the writing of this.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for letting us dig in and talk about your exploration of conflict. I just want to make a point to the audience about some of the additional elements that made these first pieces really strong for a 10-minute play. Gil keeps his dialogue light and fun at the start of the piece. Even though the play is starting with a serious subject, a car crash, Gil layers in comedic writing to help set the tone of the play. Even though we are still getting to know these characters, Gil realistically explores who they are through the dialogue they have together, not through overt exposition. It helps that these two people don't know each other very well, and that allows the audience to become familiar with them as they are getting familiar with each other. It's a great device to use in a play. If you need to explore who someone is, put them in a scene with someone who doesn't know them. Gil has decided to set this piece in one location, at the side of a road. Most 10-minute plays are set only in one location. If you can manage to tell the entirety of your story in one place, please do. You might be telling something that actually happened, and it happened over a course of several days in different locations, but this is theater. You can dramatize it. If you can make it all in one location, I highly recommend it. Establishing a new setting or a new outrise can interrupt your play's momentum. Obviously, there are absolutely exceptions to this rule, but I find that most of my favorite successful 10-minute plays are really only set in one main place. Most scenes in plays are over 10 minutes, so full-length plays contain scenes that are a lot longer than 10 minutes, honestly. Very rarely in that full-length play will you find a piece interrupting itself for a new setting in less than 10 minutes. It takes that long to really establish people. Thank you again, Gil, for letting us use your fabulous work as an example. We're going to jump quickly into reading Mickey's first 3 pages of the X Games. We might save our discussion for it a little later, but I wanted to once again show you a piece that sets up conflict very strongly. For this play, Gil is going to jump into a character, so am I, and Mickey is going to be reading her own stage directions because there's 4 characters in this piece. So if everybody can come forward and turn their camera on and their mics and let me know, are y'all ready? You ready for this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Mickey, take us away.
The X Games by me. Characters: counselor, woman in her late 30s, or mid to late 30s. Zuri, outspoken woman in her late 20s, very dramatic and animated, uses grand hand gestures when she speaks. Masi, attractive woman in her late 20s, quiet and soft-spoken, cries a lot. And Stevie, attractive woman in her early 30s, delicate and reserved. Scene 1. Setting: a sparsely furnished room in a quiet office building at 4 p.m. At Rise, 4 women are seated in folding chairs in the center of the room. They're positioned in a small circle, all facing each other. Spotlight on Masi as she dances as if in a dreamlike state. The other 3 women are in the dark. Back Down Memory Lane plays by Minnie Riperton plays. I stumbled on this photograph. It kind of made me laugh. It took me way back down memory lane. Slowly, as the song progresses, Masi sits down and stares sadly at her phone. The music fades out.
Mossy?
Lights come on. Masi snaps back to attention and quickly hides her phone.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I asked what it is you want to get out of group today.
Mossy, if you're going to be here, you're going to have to focus, girl.
Zuri.
No, really. I mean, what's the point of being here if she's not going to actually be here? You're going to have to focus, baby girl. What is it that you want to get out of this?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't get any closure. She just left. No warning, no explanation. One day she thinks that we should take a break and focus on getting ourselves together individually and then come back together, stronger, stronger and better than before. I thought that was a good idea. I was down for it. I felt like we were running in place, and I truly believed it was possible for us to get back to how things used to be. So I totally supported her moving out. I even helped her move. Then a month after she moved, she said she didn't see a future for us. Like, really? After everything we've been through, that's it? I really don't think she had ever any intention of us getting back together. She knew she was just done when she left, and she didn't have the guts to say it. I mean, who does that?
My ex, she did the same thing. Except this skank had me
Zuri, please remember our group agreements. No use of names.
Yes, I know. No use of names, no abusive names. Sorry.
Your ex.
My ex, she had me all the way messed up, girl. She never actually said she was breaking up with me. I had to figure it out on my own. One day, her little passive aggressive behind just up and moved to a new city. Said she needed space. But thanks to my excellent detective skills.
Mm-hmm. You mean, you mean thanks to an informant?
I mean, thanks to my profound detective skills. I found out the new city also came with a new girl that she'd met on Tinder.
Oh.
Girl. So she thought she was just going to leave me alone with 2 cats to raise, then just come bouncing back and forth in and out of my life like a little rubber ball when it was convenient for her. I think the F not, girl, I nipped that in the bud real quick. One day, she was supposed to come visit to quote unquote check on me and the cats, which was actually code for she didn't have anyone else at the moment, so she thought she was gonna come home and get some and run. Girl, she drove 8 hours in that little raggedy piece of car of hers. Unfortunately, I may have accidentally forgotten to mention to her that I had packed my stuff and moved the heck out. Lip box and all, and was gone with the wind. No mess, no stress, no forward in address.
Lori high fives the other girls in the group, stands and sings Love Don't Live Here Anymore dramatically. Just a vacancy, love don't live here anymore. Oh, no, 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 no.
Zuri, you are a fool.
Girl, I had to. She really broke my heart. I had to protect myself. I couldn't stay there anyway. Too many memories. And she never wanted to talk about it. She could talk about everything under the sun. But when it came to talking about us, about feelings, she was suddenly mute. Suddenly her lips don't work and all she want to do is text.
Oh my God, my ex does the same thing. It drives me crazy. We'll be having a serious conversation over instant messenger and I'll beg her to talk to me on the phone and she refuses. Everyone knows things get lost in translation via text. You can't have a serious conversation that way.
No, you can't.
And that's it. That's the first 3 pages. Ha! Now we have you in the palm of our hands to move forward with Mickey's piece. We're running a little bit low on time, so we're not going to discuss that in the depth that we did Gil's piece. But I do want to underline some elements of Mickey's work for you at home. Some strong elements of Mickey's work. Again, she's picked one location to dig into the bulk of her action, just as Gil's piece. One location does the trick, and not a lot of scene changes allow us to live in this moment with these characters a lot longer. This piece is again dealing with a serious subject through humor. In the presentation of this work, when we presented it a while back with actors live, audiences were howling at Mickey's fabulously quippy and very relatable dialogue. It makes something very challenging like heartache really accessible for a lot of people to feel with you together. And honestly, just think of your own lives. If you're like many, many people, you know that humor is everywhere. You can be in the darkest of moments and still find a joke to crack. I want to encourage anyone exploring subjects of drama to never forget the levity that a joke can create. How humor can make things feel really human, and how honestly your audience may need a good joke in the middle of a serious moment in order to sustain and remain connected despite a challenging subject. Humor is a multifaceted gift in the world of theater. Beyond giving the gift of making an audience of people laugh, you're giving a real life heart to your story through the use of it. So enjoy, have fun with it. I'm just going to take a moment to reiterate the homework. I also want to thank Gil and Mickey for their help today. And then Sam and Ariel, our very special actor guests, for lending their talents to the performances of all of these scripts. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone at home for being here with us today. So just to reiterate for homework, and now is a good time if you have a question and you'd like to pop it in the comments about today, please feel free. So just to reiterate for the homework, please take a moment and first fill out or really, really deeply think about the conflict questionnaire, and then dive into the development of the first 3 to 4 pages of your script. Yay! And if you're inspired, please feel free to email me your developed work at kharoff@theoldglobe.org. That's once again, kharoff@theoldglobe.org. And please let me know if I may use your 3 pages for our live workshop on Thursday. It's going to be a fun workshop. We'd love to have your work to inspire us. So now is a great time for me to check out the comments section. So I got a question, and I might need to reach out to this person personally because I'm a little confused by it. So it says, what about one physical setting and more than one time? Oh, I got it, for a play. Yes. So whenever you need to go to a different time in a play, like say you start a play and it's the morning and you need to go to a different moment in time for the play, like later in that night. Unfortunately, that is still, even though the setting is the same, that is still considered a reset of your action. So you are going to have to eventually end the morning scene. So whatever's happening, everybody's having breakfast, and then everybody leaves and goes to school. And that would be the moment where you would write end of scene. And then you'd start again with scene two. Scene two, same setting as before, but it's later in the day. You're still going to need to describe an at-rise because you are coming into that moment a little bit later. So the at-rise might look like all of the kids are coming home from school. Matt is upset that he didn't get picked for baseball. I don't know. So that is an example of one section of the play ending and restarting. But yeah, you still have to create a new setting and at-rise. And don't get me wrong, that's okay. That's perfectly okay. If you have a 10-minute play and you need 3 scenes, it's definitely much better to keep them in one location. But like I said, if it's possible to have it all one uninterrupted moment in one scene, and I mean, without resetting a scene, I would recommend it. But if you'd like to have it start a little bit later in the day, go for it. That's okay too. But just remember, you just have about 10 pages. So if you're going through the first 5 pages and you need to restart, you're going to interrupt that flow a little bit. But once again, whatever you're planning to explore, I 100% support you. And I would love to read your writing and see what this world is you are exploring. It looks like that's my only question for today. That's wonderful. If you want to dig into that question a little bit deeper with me, you can email me and we can expand over email. And I hope I get to read a lot of your scenes this week. I can't wait. And we're going to wrap it up. And I'm just going to thank you one more time for being here. Thank you for being here. Feel free to share these videos with anybody you think might like them. We have 5 so far. It's great if people want to join in us later in the action. We're here for you. Enjoy your writing this week at home, and always feel free to share with me. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you here tomorrow at 3 o'clock for the next Behind the Curtain with the fabulous Laura Zablit. And I'll be back on Thursday at 3 o'clock for our next workshop. Have a great day. Happy writing.